So my area of focus is teacher professional development with like digital literacy, and then subsequently like their classroom instruction and student learning, and and now sort of I'm shifting the lens to look at design thinking, and really what is making me so. In terms of what has brought me here, it's my background as a teacher and also working in communities that have been diverse throughout like the San Francisco Bay Area, which is where I'm from. And then and sort of my passion for like youth development, and so I'm thinking that there has to be some kind of link between professional development and what it is that can get students motivated to learn. My site is I'm calling it Dimension Charter School, and that site has a mission of using design thinking as a methodology towards like stimulating student learning, and it's a site where like equity and inclusion and diversity is like really important, and they kind of weave it throughout all of the professional development activities. So it sort of got me kind of like putting all these little pieces together, and they're not fitting neatly, but it's I think I'm enjoying the messiness of it, you know. All of the teachers at my site went through a pre-service training, in which was a design thinking training. And so they've taken it up in different ways depending on discipline and also sort of their kind of understanding of how that sort of fits in with their previous understanding of what, you know, teaching was about. So like the science teacher might say, you know, it's very much like the scientific method. So, you know, he's sort of aligning it in that way. And the humanities teacher is like, yeah, well, it's the same kind of ideation thing that we do in humanities. And so they find ways to kind of link it to what they already know. And then, but they do a very similar training with their students. And they do it quarterly. And they call it design challenges. And they come up with like these questions that the kids have to then come up with, you know, go through the process and come up with answers or prototypes for. So the one that I just observed was this challenge where the question was, how can we build a school community that values difference? And so the kids had to kind of go through the entire process. But what was interesting was the teachers went through the same process. And so this is where the messiness comes in. And, you know, sort of like how the teachers are kind of grappling with these issues, and then how that affects their instruction. When they got to prototype stage, the students actually asked, you know, are we going to be able to utilize laptops in order to do our research? And so they came up with so they brainstormed like 40 different things, you know, ideas to solve the problem, but they came up with 4. And the 4 that they came up with was to have a computer lab / a library, and they felt like in that space they could like investigate other cultures, learn about different folks, and they could actually, you know, do kind of, that would help bring them closer together. The second thing that they came up with was electives, because they felt like if we had a broader choice of electives, then we could kind of get to know people by our similarities or of interests. The third thing that they came up with was taking like trips, and they wanted to do trips like both locally, nationally, and then like more globally, because they felt like if they got to do these field trips that they would be able to like learn about cultures and, you know, learn about differences. And the last thing was the creation of separate lounge spaces for girls and boys, and they felt like in these spaces they would have sort of like, you know, games and like high definition television sets and pool tables or what have you, but that in those spaces that they could actually be able to sort of delve into sort of the things that make them get to know each other better and feel more comfortable around each other. So each of the groups kind of had their own way, because they had to sort of produce something that they had to then share their prototypes with the 9th grade girls class. And so they utilized the internet to actually download stuff, and Miss Watkins, the teacher, allowed them to take turns using her own laptop. And then girls who didn't have, you know, while they were waiting, they actually utilized their mobile phones. And so she let them do that. and mostly it was like researching stuff, you know, on the internet to, you know, to kind of help make these prototypes that they were going to then share. What I found to be really interesting in the classroom spaces was that the idea about how it is that kids in an immersive technology space where they have this mission about we're going to immerse kids in technology, how it is that they then are able to sort of articulate out information, and given that they have a limited amount of technology within the space. So what they've been doing is utilizing, you know, different disciplines use more technology than others, and math and science definitely do. But where they're struggling is like the humanities teachers. So the humanities teachers are kind of trying to figure out, you know, how does this work within my, you know, discipline? And what they tend to do is sort of just bring in stuff like, okay, we'll show a video, oh, we'll, you know, we'll show a PowerPoint, we'll teach the kids how to make their own PowerPoints, but it's very like limited interaction with it. And it's very sort of, like I said, didactic, where it's like, you know, here's a smartboard, but the smartboard becomes a whiteboard, you know, it's the same thing, you know, the kids are all oriented to that. What I found really great, though, in this space is because of the sort of openness of teachers, they're allowing students to utilize their own like laptops and to actually kind of do some sort of apprenticeship with this. So kids are actually being able to sort of like rotate learning how to operate the laptop and things like that. But their focus is more so on teaching them word processing, teaching them stuff like that, that's sort of like not deeply, you know, from what I've seen so far, deeply, you know, engaging them. I'm really curious as to diving deeper into it. You know what I mean? I don't want to just say like, here's the solution to everything. You know, design thinking. There we go. No, you know, this is why I'm researching this. You know, to actually find out like, yeah, you know, what is here? You know, what can this actually do? And you know, what and where can it be tweaked? Because I feel like with any methodology, you know, you can do some transformation with it and make it better. And that's where design, you know, that's, you know, something that I think we get from design is just like this idea of like keep, you know, kind of keep going back at it and sort of like, you know, honing it. And so I'm hoping that, you know, over these different iterations that I see, that the teachers and the students will actually kind of hone this design methodology to best fit their school space.